Emma.
Okay. This is my story. I will talk in 3 weeks. I will held a conference which I will be able to speak, so bear with me, okay? It's okay. The 9th of September 2016, the day my changed life forever. My name is Emma Beasley, and I am a Judicial Associate with the Family Court of Australia. I'm a lawyer with a bachelor degree in law and tourism. I was engaged to be married, had recently moved into a house we had bought in my hometown of Wollongong, and was planning a wedding. Life was very busy, hard work, but I loved it. On the Friday, the 9th of September, I woke up with a bad headache, so I didn't go to work. That evening, I collapsed in the bathroom, and my fiance and his parents found me about 15 minutes later. I thought I was telling them, call an ambulance, but my words made no sense to them. I could feel nothing in my right side, and I began to vomit and realised I was in a lot of trouble. I was in Wollongong Hospital neurological ward for about 2.5 weeks. My parents arrived 6 days after my stroke. I think that might be out of order.
Just checking. Okay, keep going.
Thank you. Silly mum. When I eventually got to Wollongong Hospital, I was rushed through to casualty. I don't remember of much more of that night and the next day. My parents were overseas, and I remember trying to speak to them on the phone, urging them to come home. I knew I had suffered a stroke, but I began to feel frustrated and unable to talk. I was in Wollongong Hospital neurological ward for 2.5 weeks. My parents arrived 6 days after my stroke. I could recognise their family and friends who visited me, but I had trouble saying their names. My words consisted of yeah, no, and sorry, and mum, and dad, and Katrina, my sister, but I took a while to find the words out. Mum, she was Wednesday at first. Mum and Dad came to the hospital every day. They were there to encourage me at physio, make sure I had a rest. They took me outside in my wheelchair and made everything a learning opportunity. I remember Dad would not let me eat my food until I could name the utensil to eat it with. They bought me word finds and to do, and trying to teach me numbers with Uno cards. I still only have a few words, but I could sing the words to my favourite songs. Then I was moved to Port Kembla Hospital rehab. My rehab there was mostly about walking again and trying to get movement in my arm. I had I had several speech therapists. Some days no one came at all. I hated it. I was the only young person there, and don't even talk me about the food. Seeing my mum and dad every day and family and friends when they could visit was important. I spent a lot of time doing finder words, colouring in and listening to music. My vocabulary only increased by little. I was highly frustrated by not being able to find the words that I needed to communicate. I often gave up. My favourite phrase was, "This one here, this one here, this one here, this one here," pointing my finger. I left Port Kembla just before Christmas, and I spent the next 2 months just existing. My fiance was working long hours in Sydney. We had trouble communicating and he gave up on me. Long days alone made me feel suicidal, and I was unable to tell my parents what was going on. At the end of February, my fiance told me to leave. I had nowhere else to go but in Seaham near Newcastle to live with my mum and dad. My rehab continued at Rankin Park Hospital in Newcastle 2 mornings a week. My speech therapist there, Alex, was really helpful because he gave me a lot of homework, which I started to feel like I was improving at last. I felt still lonely and depressed because I don't know anyone in the region apart from mum and dad and their friends. The best thing for my recovery was being sent to the Hunter Brain Injury Service at the end of June. I lived in there from Monday afternoon until Friday morning for 9 weeks. I was taught to live independently, cooking for myself with one hand, going out into the shops and into the community, doing my washing and mixing and living with other brain injury survivors. Every day I had physio, OT, speech therapy, and was allowed to go for a walk to the beach or to the shops. All of the speech therapists were great, but particularly Nathan and Georgie. Georgie was the first person who said to me that I have aphasia. I felt excited because I had a name that I could call my problem. Yes, I had a stroke, but I also had aphasia. I could work out what was wrong with me, and I hope I could improve. Now I had NDIS funding for physio, speech, driving lessons, yes, driving lessons, and social activities. The best thing that happened to me was joining the Maitland Aphasia group. Every Friday morning we meet for 2 hours. We talk about life in general. We have activities, morning tea, and speech therapists once a fortnight. Then we go out to lunch. We all have to order our own meals, and I feel normal again. Everyone in the group is lovely, caring and understanding. Aphasia is loss of language, not intelligence. Aphasia is hard work. Every day I am and on fire, and other days I'm flat and I can't find the words I need. There are peaks and troughs, but I need to accept that. Lucky for my aphasia recovery, I love to play games. Some of my favourite ones that help me are Scattergories, the 5-second rule, and Pass the Popcorn. I love movies. I love movies. I love to do word finds again and simple crosswords, and these help me with my spelling. My New Year's resolution this year was to post something on my Instagram photo. See? I'll show you. Yeah. Almost everything I do becomes a type of therapy, and all else failed, ask Siri.